Hey all, today we are going to talk about inverse trig functions. It's kind of like the opposite of the trig functions we've used in the last lesson. So an inverse trig function is written like this, very similar to what we had, but instead there's going to be this minus 1 as an exponent. This minus 1 is just a label. We're just using it as a label. It means something mathematically, but for us, we're using that as a label, and this reads sine inverse. So when I see that sign with the -1, that means sine inverse. We can do the same thing for cosine inverse and tangent inverse. I said that inverse means opposite. What these functions are going to do is they're going to undo the regular sine, cosine, and tangent functions so that we can find out what the measure of an angle is. And that's going to be a lot clearer when we do a couple examples. So let's do that now. So I have two examples here. I'll break the page up, and we'll do this one first. So right now I have the sine of some angle B is equal to 0.4848. And what we want to do is we want to figure out what that angle is. So this B represents an angle measure, and that's what we want to know. We want to know what angle measure can we plug in for sine and get 0.4848. So in order to get rid of the SIN at the beginning, on both sides we would do the sine inverse. It's sort of like if I have 2x equals 4, and I want to get rid of the 2 in front of the x. This is 2 times x, so we would divide by 2. So multiplying and dividing are opposite functions. Sine inverse and sine are opposite functions, so they cancel each other out. And what happens is we are just left with that letter B, the one that represents the angle. Sometimes this is x, or it could be A. And on the right, we have sine inverse of 0.4848. So we can do that on the calculator. We go to our sine button. If you look at above it in yellow, it says sine inverse. So we hit the second key, and we get sine inverse. And then we put in 0.4848. And that's going to tell us that that angle was approximately, and we'll round to 29. So that means that if we had a right triangle and we took the sine of an angle and it gave us 0.4848, that angle was 29 degrees. So this is maybe where you're limited at home with the calculator. Again, like I said in the last video, there are some good graphing calculator apps out there. If not, you can at least get to this point and finish when you get to class using one of our graphing calculators. So in terms of right triangles, we can use inverses. So I want to know what this angle is, question mark, given these two side lengths. So I'm going to label these. This is the opposite side. This is my hypotenuse. And over here is my adjacent side. So I have the opposite and the adjacent sides both labeled, so that gives me an idea that I need to use tangent. So the tangent of that angle I don't know is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. And now to solve for question mark, I'm going to do tangent inverse on both sides. When I do that, the tangent inverse and the tangent cancel, and I get that question mark is equal to tangent inverse of 27 over 38, and I can do that on my calculator. I hit second, then the tangent button. 27 divided by 38. And I get that that angle was approximately 35.39 degrees. And of course, if we're on a quiz or a test or something like that, I'll tell you what to round to. So again, you could get all the way to here. If you don't have a calculator or something that has the inverse functions on it, then you can just finish up in class. So I have two for you here to pause. Pause the video now, and I want you to find the measure of angle A and the measure of question mark right there. So here we have cosine, so we're going to do cosine inverse on both sides. The cosine inverse and the cosine cancel. On my calculator, I can do cosine inverse of 0.7431, and I get that that angle was pretty close to 42 degrees. Over here, I start by labeling my triangle. There's the opposite side. That's my hypotenuse. And this is my adjacent side. So again, just like in the example I did previously, I have the opposite and the adjacent. So I'm looking at tangent of question mark being equal to 9 over 21. Then I take the inverse of both sides. The tangent inverse and the tangent cancel, and I get question mark to be. We'll do tangent inverse, 9 divided by 21, close to 23.2 degrees. So I've got two for you to do. Do them, please. Find the measure of angle A over here. Find question mark. I think you'll find that this second one, this triangle, looks pretty similar to the two that we did together. Give these two a shot. It's okay if you get it wrong. That's when you learn, and you can ask questions of me in class.